Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1890. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today I'm in Pacific, Missouri, with a very special guest by the name of Rebecca Schnell. Rebecca, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
Oh, Mark, I am ready. I'm thrilled to be here.
Well, it's exciting. Now, it's kind of funny saying release the clutch because I should say, are you ready to run over a whole bunch of stuff and crush it, right?
That would be right. We don't exactly use a clutch in what I drive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you listeners are going to learn more about what Rebecca does. But before I give you a proper introduction today, what's one little thing that maybe most people don't know about you, Rebecca?
One little thing that people don't know about me. That's a great question.
I've got her stumped at the very start. Yeah.
Well, without ruining the introduction of what I do.
Yeah.
I don't even know. There's so much I don't know. Oh, I'm avidly passionate about health and fitness.
There you go. Well,
let's go with that.
That makes sense. And considering your, what we'll call your day job versus your fun night and weekend job, that'll make sense for you listeners here. So let me give you a proper introduction. We're going to dive into this incredible life that you have. Rebecca Schnell is the driver of Hot Wheels Monster Truck Bigfoot Madness, Midwest Madness. Is that right?
Midwest Madness.
She's the first female driver for Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live and kicked off her career as a crew chief. And then she married fellow Hot Wheels driver Darren Schnell. So it's all in the family for these two. Her first drive was on the European tour, and her fierce competitiveness and epic skills earned her a win in her first freestyle event in Copenhagen, Denmark, quickly capturing the attention of adoration of her many, many fans. Rebecca is thrilled to be part of the exciting return of the Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live domestic tour, making her debut as driver of the tour's new Bigfoot Midwest Madness, a first ever collaboration between Hot Wheels and Bigfoot. This is very cool. We'll be back in just a minute, but first a word from our valued sponsors, so give them a little listen. We'll be back. Hold on, buckle up. We are with a wild and crazy driver today. Be right back. Are you ready to get out and hit the road? Boy, I sure am. This country has so much to offer, and what better way than to get out and drive? Covercraft protects the things that move you. From protective covers for the outside of your vehicles to the inside with dash covers, seat covers, and sunscreens, all creatively designed to keep your vehicle cool for those roadside stops for a meal or to take in the view. Covercraft custom tailors their designs for your special vehicles and manufactures with the quality and attention to detail that's been their standard since 1965. Road trips can be hard on your vehicle's surfaces, so protect them, and when you get home, cleanup is fast and easy. And you want to get a deal? Well, I've got one just for you. Use the code YEAH21 at covercraft.com and you'll get 10% off your Covercraft order. That's right, 10% off compliments of Cars Yeah. Simply use the code YEAH21, YEAH21 at checkout. I've been protecting my vehicles with Covercraft covers since 1975. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. Go to covercraft.com today. I was talking with a buddy of mine the other day, and he asked me about American Collectors Insurance. He said, while I listen to you on Cars Yeah, you're always talking about agreed value collector car insurance. Well, I insure all my cars on my regular auto insurance policy, and I've done it for years. Why use a different company for my collector cars? I get a multi-car discount. Isn't that good enough? I suggested he call his carrier and ask how much he would get if his collector car was totaled or stolen. He called back and said, boy, that was a scary conversation. The value of my car wasn't even close to what it's really worth. Thank you for the education, Mark. So don't just hope for a fair claim settlement. Be certain and know exactly what you'll receive with an agreed value policy. American Collectors Insurance has been protecting enthusiasts since 1976. Give them a call today for your personal agreed value quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224 9324. Tell them you're a friend of Mark Green's at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance, classic car insurance, designed by collectors for collectors, automotive enthusiasts just like you and me. They're the ones that insure my car. That's American Collectors Insurance. All right, Rebecca. So I usually say let's dive a little deeper into the corner, but for you, let's just crush something, run right over the top of a bunch of cars or whatever it is. I would love for you to talk a little bit about your past and the fact that, my hat's off to you, you're basically a first responder. You're an emergency room nurse. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I started in emergency medicine when I was 16 years old.
Wow.
Right. It's been a while. I did some volunteer fire department work in my tiny little hometown, moved into working into the emergency room about 18 years old, and then went to nursing school. And for the last 7 years, I have been an emergency room nurse.
Wow. Again, my hat's off to you, and especially with what we've all been through the last 18 plus months with COVID. I don't know how you folks did it. I mean, your work is already so stressful and challenging, and then to add this complication to everything and care for people, I really, really admire you. You know, knock on wood, I've never had to, well, I actually was in an emergency room once now that I think about it. I put that out of my mind. Yeah, I cut my finger flexor tendons once, and my finger would go down, but it wouldn't go back up. And luckily, a person in an emergency room helped me out and ended up having a little quick surgery, and my finger works now. So I thank you for...
Well, Mark, I think we all have some of those terrible stories. When I was about 2 years old, I decided that I wanted to be Tinkerbell and jump off the side of our couch. And I got myself quite a few stitches into my chin.
Oh, yeah. My sister, that had that happen in an old Volkswagen. Our babysitter was driving us around and no seatbelts in the back. She ran into something. My sister flew right between the seats, right into the dashboard. So put her front teeth right through her lower lips. Thank you for you and all your team and all the first responders all over the world that have been so incredible during this thing. But let's talk about something really fun and exciting. And that is, I think, on top of saving lives and helping people in times of trauma, I think I'll jump in a giant vehicle and run over and squish everything. Now, this is kind of contradictory to someone who helps and saves people to destructo woman. So how did you get into this?
Well, Mark, about 11 or so years ago, I met my now husband, who also works for Bigfoot 4x4 here in Pacific, Missouri. He pretty much, I want to say, is 95% responsible for my getting behind the wheel and being patient with me and teaching me about the monster trucks as I crewed for him and was his crew chief for many, many years. I did, in fact, grow up going to these events as a young child. It was one of our family events that my mom took us to. Mm-hmm. And about 2019, the owners of Team Bigfoot brought me into the office when we were approached with the opportunity to take our Hot Wheels monster trucks overseas to Europe, and said, we're going to need 2 drivers. And we couldn't think of a better team other than you two, because you've been working alongside each other. You know what you're doing when you're out working on the trucks, but we think we want to offer you this chance to drive one of the trucks. What do you think about that?
What did you say? Oh my
Mark, my jaw dropped to the floor, because it's something that, and I shared this yesterday on a social media post that I made. In 2015, I've always moved my husband's truck around in the pits, and I've, placed them for our shows. But I posted in 2015 a picture of my shoes on the gas pedals. And I said to myself, in some point in my life, I want to change these in for racing shoes. And here I am 6 years later, living that very dream.
Be careful what you wish for, because sometimes you just might get it.
That's right.
So I have to ask, give us an example as best you can, since we're not video here, we're audio. What's the process here? Because many of us, even if we haven't been to a monster truck event, and I've been, and they're just, I sit there and I go, this is nuts. These people do some incredible things. And how do they even, I've raced cars, I've been in accidents, and I go, how do they land and bump and crash and not destroy their bodies? Obviously you're strapped in there pretty tight, but you do some wild, wild things. So tell us the process here. There's obviously a lot of skill set involved, because it's not just, I'll just drive straight and whatever happens. It's all out gas, throttle, brake, all this different stuff's going on. How do you learn how to do this?
Yeah. So essentially safety is one of the biggest aspects of what we do. Each driver has a seat it's called a containment seat. It's kind of built around them in their fire suit. We wear a neck restraint called a Hans device, or some people go with hybrids. We use helmets, 5-layer fire suits, racing shoes, gloves. We pretty much have every safety aspect covered in there. Our seat belts, I have a 7-point harness that comes over top of my shoulders and across my waist, and I actually ratchet myself down into the seat so where I don't move, because movement creates damage and muscle soreness, etc., if you will. So it's definitely a skill set that you acquire and you adjust and adapt to over time, because you can't, and I don't know anyone, but you don't just get into a truck and are a perfect driver.
Right.
It's very different than driving a car. There's a steering wheel, a rear steer, so where we drive the rear tires differently, our shifters for similar to a manual automotive vehicle. We have a 2-speed in our high and low gear.
Okay.
Again, everybody's monster truck is set up a little bit different, but it's definitely a 2-hand and 2-foot kind of driving style.
Unlike racing, you're an entertainer, really. You go out there to put on a wonderful show for people, to do things in these vehicles that no one ever dreams these trucks can do. And you watch some of these, I've seen them stand up on one tire and pirouette like a ballerina. I mean, like, how does this all work? So does each wheel tire have independent drive? Is it 4-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering?
How do I describe that appropriately? It's basically dependent on the actual monster truck itself. Some teams run lockers in the rear, so they spin, unanimously upon each other, and some don't. And like I said, it's just kind of based on how it's built, but essentially 4-wheel drive without the capability to lock it into 4-wheel drive, if you will.
Now, this relationship with Hot Wheels, tell me about how this all works. Because Hot Wheels, for those of us today, Hot Wheels are still super famous. They came out when I was a kid in the 60s, late 60s. I think the first Hot Wheels with the red line wheels, they called them, because Matchbox didn't really roll very well. And then Mattel comes along with Hot Wheels and the orange tracks. And I mean, I've still got hundreds of those things. I had so many of them. They're so much fun. But Hot Wheels is never ending. I mean, kids love them today. So how did Hot Wheels get involved and you involved as part of this Hot Wheels tour?
So I believe, I think it was 2018 or 2019. It was 2018. Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live was branded as a part of the, I guess, entertainment business is the right way to phrase that. And they branched together to bring the actual toy monster trucks that they produce to life. So therefore, there came about this Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live tour, and it has hands down been the best experience. I work with the best group of people. I cannot say enough good things about this company, and I'm so excited that we are coming back for a tour this year of 2021.
Yeah. Now, you're the first woman, right?
First female. So I initially was the first female in the international tour, and now I've become the first female in the U.S. domestic tour as well.
You go, girl. I mean, that's so awesome. What dynamics does that create for you? Because lots of times you think of toy cars, I'll say in the old days, my old days, mostly was a boys thing. But nowadays, a lot more girls like to play with toy cars and so forth. A lot more women in the racing industry. I've had over 300 women in the automotive industry as guests here on Cars Yeah. There's just more and more women realizing this is a fun thing to do. That must be fun for you because you probably have autograph sessions where people could come up and meet and greets and that kind of thing. What has that meant for you, for, let's say, little girls who realize, wow, this is something I can do too?
Absolutely. And that has been the biggest response. When those little girls come up and they're like, oh, Mom, it's a lady driver.
It's a lady.
That was the number one thing in Europe. I always like to practice my rendition of what they say. The boys would come around the corner and be like, Mom, look, it's a lady driver.
It's a lady.
It was the best thing to hear ever. And, honestly, the little boys, they would always get a little shy because it's very surprising to them to see a female in the industry. And the little girls are like, oh, Mom, I'm going to be a monster truck driver when I grow up too. But it's so awesome to be such a good role model for all these young boys and girls.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's absolutely tremendous. When you think about what you're doing in this part of your life outside of your work in emergency room, is there a way this is a really good release for you, or a diversion, if you will, because you've got to focus when you're in these things. It's not a Sunday drive.
Oh, you have no idea. So I am often given a hard time because my analytical nurse brain running And our shifts are very long when we're there. So 12 and a half hours. A lot of times we go without any lunch breaks or potty breaks, if you will. And so we are constantly trying to make sure, especially in ER, that we don't let people die, because that's not what we do. We're set to keep them alive and thriving. Well, we get in the monster truck, and my husband and the rest of my teammates always give me a hard time because I like to overthink things. And sometimes the most famous line everybody says to me is, will you just get in the truck and put your helmet on and drive?
Yeah. I found that when I was racing and even when I rode motorcycles, I know as an ER nurse, you're saying, Mark, don't ride motorcycles. That's a bad thing. You had to focus so much that you didn't think about it. Many of us can drive to work and not even remember the drive, which is scary. Mm-hmm. You go, I don't even remember driving in this morning, but you're on a bike. You can't do that. Or if you're in a race car. Right. When you're in the truck, is it that way too? You've got to focus so intently that does your life in the ER drift off a bit so you don't have to think about that? You can be free of that a little bit because it's so
absolutely
intense. Yeah.
Absolutely. It is such a different feel and an adrenaline rush, if you will, to be in the monster truck driving. But a lot of things, sometimes you have to really focus on where you are and what you're doing and how close you are to an obstacle and whatnot, because there is a very limited sight
space
in that truck. Yeah. So you can't see very well. So you have to do focus and pay attention and be at your best performance.
I don't see how you guys see anything out of those things because you're up. So, I mean, I get in some big SUVs and I'm like, I can't see. I don't like that. I like being in a small sports car. I can't see the road, the corners of the vehicle. So do you have cues you work off of when you're in an arena setting? So you know, okay, which direction am I pointed and where do I go? How do you, I don't see how you can see what you're doing.
Well, you see, Mark, our brain is a wonderful tool that our body utilizes. The other part of that is if you look at a monster truck, there is the windshield that we look through, but a lot of us run a fire glass, which is actual Lexan that we look through the bottom of the floor.
Oh, your secret spyglass. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. That makes sense. I like that. That's very, very cool. Yeah. What's your favorite part about being a monster truck driver?
The interaction with the fans, especially when we get to do the crash zone and autograph sessions and get to talk to them and hear what their big dreams are or hear their obstacles that they've been through and that they've succeeded in, made into this big, exciting thing. And, we feed off of their energy. And when they're excited, we get excited. And when they're cheering, we can hear that in the truck. And we just makes us want to perform more for them.
Do you ever get to share much with your fans what you do for a day job? Because that's probably got to blow a few people away. Like, what? You're also an ER nurse?
Yeah. So we don't get to spend a lot of time with our fans, but I do run my social media accounts personally. So I am able to kind of transcribe over there kind of what I do day in and day out of either life in the shop or life in the hospital kind of thing.
I've got to think that is great for especially young people to realize that you don't have to lock yourself into one thing. You can do a lot of things. You could be a lot of different kind of things in your life, right?
Absolutely. 100%. If you'd have asked me 10 years ago, if I would be piloting a 10,000-pound monster truck, I would have absolutely looked at you and said, you've lost your mind. There's no way I'm going to blend into that opportunity. And here I am.
You must have head trauma, Mark, if you think that's going to ever happen. So, I'd like to ask my guests about what I call driving inspirations, people that were key mentors, inspirational in your life. Who is that person in your life? And this could be for monster trucks or for your time as an ER nurse.
Gosh, I've had so many inspirational people in my life, Mark. My late mom was a very strong-headed and strong-willed woman, and she taught me a lot, and I get my red hair, honestly, from her. So I have a lot to factor in there. But in the motorsports industry in general, there's been quite a few females. I am a huge fan of the late Jessie Combs. I watched her for many years on TV and, watched her set world records. And unfortunately, she lost her life due to her attempts at setting a world record. My coach and mentor and trainer and very good friend here at Bigfoot is Dan Runte. He's been in the industry for 25 plus years. He's taught me everything that I need to know about driving, and I've adapted quite a bit to some of his driving style. And some people might think it's an insult, but when somebody looks at me and says, "You've got the smooth style of driving, just like Dan Runte," that is the biggest compliment I can ever receive. And just in general, like the creator of this monster truck industry, Bob Chandler, he owns this company and he built this monster truck industry to what it is today. And I could not be more grateful for him and his wife, to allow me to come in and take this position, drive for him.
Oh, very cool. Let's take a short break and thank our sponsors again when we come back. I want to talk about a big challenge. No doubt your career is filled with challenges every day of all different kinds, but maybe there's something in the monster truck world that was a great challenge for you. So sit tight, keep the seatbelts on, watch out. Bigfoot's coming. Might run right over the top of your car. We'll be right back. Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. What began as a charitable car show has grown into the world's greatest collector car auctions, raising over $133 million for charitable organizations to date. For nearly 50 years, automotive enthusiasts from all over the world have enjoyed the Barrett-Jackson collector car auctions, and I'm a huge fan. Regarded as the barometer of the collector car industry, their auctions are world-class lifestyle events where thousands of the world's most sought-after, unique, and valuable automobiles cross the block in front of a global audience, in person, on TV, or streamed online. Barrett-Jackson produces the world's greatest collector car auctions in Scottsdale, Arizona, Palm Beach, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, and new for 2021, Houston, Texas. The excitement of Barrett-Jackson auctions is contagious, and a unique experience is not to be missed. Barrett-Jackson, the world's greatest collector car auctions. So, Rebecca, let's talk about a big challenge, big obstacle, even a big failure that you faced. Now, this could be in your career, your life. It doesn't really matter, but take us on that bumpy ride. It's more important here. What did it teach you so you can move forward in a positive way? So take us on a wild ride, which you do so well in the monster truck.
Well, so in 2019, in June-ish of 2019, I was asked to drive the monster truck. The team worked here for many months trying to get all of my safety equipment ready, everything prepared for my first drive. My first time behind the wheel was recorded by Raycom Sports, and I had a nice large crowd of people watching for me. And I had no idea at that point, Mark, if I was actually going to even enjoy driving a monster truck. I had moved my husband's vehicle around by stacking his fire suit in the seat because he's a much larger man than I am. And I would get up in there and I look like a 2-year-old trying to drive a big old truck around. So belting into a truck for the first time and having that horsepower running through your veins behind your head, and then having a crowd around, and then like everyone was so supportive. So fast forward, I had my first time there. I did great. I did, again, another training session the following day, and then my truck got loaded up in November, and I did not see my truck for several months prior to my actual first show in Europe. And we talked a little bit earlier about my very analytical brain, but going from training day to first show ever in front of thousands of fans packed into the arena, the nerve and the mindset, oh my gosh, unreal. And then I was responsible for going out and hitting the cars for the first time. So my first ever wheelie hit in the show. My truck went up to it. And I don't know if you know this, but cars in England are very much differently built than cars in America. They are very sturdy. They're like a brick wall. It completely halts your momentum. And I throw my truck up there, threw it back so hard that I broke the wheelie bar bolts off the back of my truck. Did not make it over the car. So that was one of those try again, fail, repeat kind of scenarios that I had to go through. I walked into that show series never expecting to win a trophy because I was going up against some elite athletes in our industry that has been driving for many, many years. And my biggest challenge was that I got over that fear that day, and I had my whole crew cheering. I wish this was video instead of audio so they could see how supportive my team was to me getting over that obstacle and facing that challenge head on, because that's a big deal to get yourself in front of so many people for your first show performance ever, and then getting over that. And then I successfully hit a donut for the first time on concrete. That's the other thing. I trained on a dirt field, and our show series is all on concrete. So it's a very different driving style. Yeah. So trying to nail all of those things while thousands and thousands of people are watching, it's very, very distracting, of course. But you know what? I've always been an individual that's been presented with a challenge, and I say challenge accepted. Here we go.
Well, I would imagine that helped you a lot working in the ER, because you never, when people come in, I mean, you know what you're doing, but you never know what's going to happen. Every patient's different, right? Every reaction's different. And you got to think on your feet. You guys are dancing in there, if you will. But you got a team in that truck. Yeah. I know you have a race team, but in that truck, you're by yourself. You're the
That's
only...
right. You're the sole... That's it. You're the one that's responsible for what happens when you're behind that wheel.
Wow. I can't even imagine the butterflies that must have been going on. Oh my goodness. That's fantastic. Well, let's kind of jump a little bit ahead with this monster truck business that you're doing. What do you see in the next 3-4 years with the monster truck? Do you have a bucket list where you'd like to perform, what you'd like to do?
Well, Mark, if you and I had talked about a year ago, I would have told you that I wanted to do a big dirt show and I wanted to hit my first ever school bus. Well, I got to check that off my list.
A school bus?
About 3 weeks ago. Yeah, a school bus.
Oh my gosh.
Those are big, big obstacles to hit. And I was able to do that in my second only ever dirt show a few weeks ago. And that was so cool to fly through the air and feel like you're never going to land and then wonder when the truck was going to land, and then it lands and it gets your attention real fast.
Yeah.
3 years from now, man, Mark, I have no idea what I want to do in 3 years. I kind of live month by month at this point.
Yeah.
Thanks to the last 18 months, because things are so quick to change in our life. Man, I hope I'm still behind the wheel working with this great company and piloting their Bigfoot machine.
Yeah, I can't imagine you come into the hospital to work on Monday and they say, "What'd you do this weekend?" "Oh, I crushed a school bus." Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I always get a few like side eyes, like, "You're not for real." And then especially when I tell my patients, because they ask, they're very inquisitive on what that you like to do on the side. And I'm like, "Oh, well, I just drive monster trucks." And they look at me and I'm about, let me give our listeners a little bit of an accurate representation. Yes. So I'm about 5'9.5", and I weigh about 135 pounds. I'm a very petite, tall gal with long red hair. So when they look at me, they're like, "You are straight lying to us." And then you whip out a picture and they're like, "You really do drive those, don't you?" Like, I tried to tell you.
Respect. Yeah, I'll tell you, listeners, and you'll see when you go to Rebecca's show notes page on my website, she's a lioness, is what I will say. Yeah, with beautiful long red hair and powerful lady. I think that's fantastic. I always like to ask my guests about a special vehicle in their life, maybe something in the past, or it could be the truck you're driving today. But tell us what that is and maybe share a great story about that special vehicle.
Oh my goodness, a special vehicle in my life. I have so many. I grew up as a car guru. I had way more vehicles at the age of 16 than I should have ever had in my life.
Okay. Well, pick one. Pick one.
My mom got real tired of me trading vehicles. No, I've always been into trucks and SUVs. So I essentially traded in my truck love and my SUV love at one point when I was about 17, 18 for a 2005 Winville Blue Mustang.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Ford girl. Yep, I'm a Ford girl at heart. So I've always loved the old style, fastback looking Mustangs. That car drove me from North Carolina to St. Louis, where I live now, and went through many a times and visits at the shop here at Bigfoot. And oh man, it never had enough horsepower, but
Why am I not surprised at that comment?
Right? It certainly was a looker. It was a beautiful, beautiful car.
I've had one Ford in my life, and it was a fastback Mustang 1965. Yeah. So, and it was built to look like a GT350 Shelby Cobra. So, so it was a pretty darn cool car. Wimbledon white with the blue stripes and 289. And it was a really fun car. It was my daily driver. It was a fun car. Yeah, a little dicey in the rain here in the Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
But it was fun. So I'm going to crawl on your head here. I'm going to be your psychologist, your analyst, okay? You worked around some of these folks. If you were manifest as a vehicle, this isn't what you want to be. This is your fiery personality, your intellect, your creative skills, your driving skills, all wrapped into one as a vehicle. What would Rebecca be, but more importantly, why?
No one has ever asked me that question. Wow. Okay. Okay. Well, to be quite honest, I feel like a monster truck isn't like the most accurate representation.
That's okay.
It's big and bolsterous.
Yeah.
Right. It has a lot of horsepower, and I like to move fast, and I am always up for any kind of adventure or any terrain, if you will. And monster trucks will go through any terrain that you can imagine.
Yeah. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it has a little bit of complexity with the ability to drive and your skill set that you have to acquire. I think that would actually describe me most accurately.
I think it makes sense, especially with the career you have, having to overcome obstacles, having to go full blown ahead, no hesitation. I got to get this job done. So, okay, you passed that test. I think you did a good job. I always like to ask my guests how they like to give back to others, specifically in the automotive sector. Obviously, you give back by helping people that are in tragic situations, saving lives, helping people in trauma situations get through things that are going. But when it comes to maybe the automotive sector, we touched on this earlier, and that is showing young women, little girls, that, you know what, you can do stuff that traditionally we've thought, this is what guys do, but you can get out there and have fun. Would that be it for you?
That would be almost 100% it, other than the education. I love to be behind the scenes and share on my socials that, the behind the scenes life of what it's like to be in the shop I am the only female in the shop when I'm here. And it's awesome to be with a group of guys who are very supportive and patient with me learning things, because I don't know everything. And I always want to know the science behind why this goes here and why this bolt goes in this. And what does that do? Because I'm very inquisitive. Nurse brain again. Here we go. Throw it under myself. Nurse brain. And so they're very patient, but I like to get that education that I've received, and I like to share that with other people so that they can understand as well what's going on behind the scenes and what it's like to be in this industry.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Isn't it funny too that you're a bit of not a bit, you are a technician in the ER. I have a good friend who's a neurosurgeon, and he says, I'm just a skull cracker. I go in and I fix stuff and then they close it back up. Yeah, and he's a bit of a humble guy, but he's also a pediatric neurosurgeon. So yeah, there you go. Pretty magical guy. Yeah, he's pretty cool. But the fact that you're a technician, but also you are part of a crew, now you're part of being a driver. So it kind of all relates in a kind of a funny sort of way. So
kind of, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. As far as books, I like to ask my guests if there's a great book that you've read. It doesn't have to be automotive. It could be fun, fiction, nonfiction, anything, self-help. Is there a great book that you've read that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I'm currently into a lot of self-development books. So I'm reading the 7 Highly Effective Habits of Effective People. That's one of my favorite books so far. It's very good if you are wanting to further yourself and self-discipline and just making yourself a better human being.
I love that book. I think it's habit number 5. First, listen to understand, then speak to be understood. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a tremendous book. I love it. Yeah. And it was recommended to me a long time ago. Gave both my kids copies of that book. And I pick it up every year to kind of refresh myself a little bit. So the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Let's go on the ultimate drive here before I let you go, Rebecca. I have the power to let you go on the ultimate drive. That means you get to pick any vehicle in the world. You get to pick any person in the world, living or deceased, and you get to be driving anywhere in the world. What does the ultimate drive look like for Rebecca Schnell?
Ooh, you're going to get me a little emotional here. So like I said, late mom, she passed away just a little over a year ago.
Oh,
and
gosh.
She's very young, 57.
I'm so sorry. My condolences.
So, so my mom never got to see me drive a monster truck in person. So my ultimate drive would to be having her in my passenger seat, have 2 trucks and a monster truck. And I would love to take her through the terrain of either Montana or Hawaii, because they're my 2 favorite states. Either one. She's more of a beach gal, so she would probably love the beach and Hawaii a little bit more. But man, what in the world I would do to be able to do that with her these days.
Yeah. Well, my sincere condolences, man. That's way too young. I've lost a parent myself, and my wife has lost both her parents. It's a really, really difficult thing. But no doubt, whether you believe in heaven or not, she's looking down with a big smile on her face for sure. So
absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish I could make that happen for you. You've taken us on a monster of a ride today, and I knew this would be great fun. I want to do a shout out to Natalie Hamlin at Weber Shandwick PR for introducing me to Rebecca today. Great team that they have there and bringing her to cars. Yeah, in fact, tomorrow I'm going to be talking with somebody Rick Steffens, another driver. Yeah, he's going to be a guest on the show. So we're going to get his perspective of what it's like to do this crazy thing that you guys do. Before I let you go, could you share maybe a success quote, a mantra, some kind of a nice saying that resonates with you that might resonate with some listeners today?
Whatever you set your dreams or your goals to be, if they are not scaring you and how big their complexity are, then they're not big enough. And make sure that you do everything in your power to be a good human being and keep chasing the dream.
Absolutely. It's a wonderful thing. The best stuff happens when it's scary, for sure. So, and you're a great example. Gee, I think I'll strap myself into it. How much do these trucks weigh again?
About 10,000 pounds.
10,000 pound truck and drive over a school bus. Why not? Sounds like fun. Yeah, absolutely. Holy cow. You're a great lady. What's the best way for people to follow along with you and what you're doing?
Yeah, I am very active on the Tickety Talk. It's 13 Rebecca Schnell. And most importantly, my Instagram page is Rebecca.Schnell_MT driver.
There you go. I'll make sure I put links to those on Rebecca's show notes page. So if you're walking, driving, whatever you're doing today and you missed that, just go to carsyeah.com, type in Rebecca Schnell, Schnell. It kind of goes with the Schnell helmet things that they have. I remember from the days I was strapping helmets on my head. So there you go. Hey, Rebecca, thank you for taking time out of your busy day in the ER and spending it with me today. You know, you are tremendous. Thank you again for what you and your team and all the first responders do for all of us every day. I think after what we've all been through, we don't take you guys for granted anymore because you're so important. You always have been. So thank you for that. And thanks for entertaining us in this giant monster foot Bigfoot. Holy cow, you're incredible. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Oh, hey, thank you, Mark. And I just want to let you listeners know that our Hot Wheels Monster Trucks Live tour schedule can be found at HotWheelsMonsterTrucksLive.com. Our first step is going to be at the Toyota Arena in Ontario, California, Saturday through Sunday, September 18th and 19th. Tickets are available online at Ticketmaster.com.
There you go. If you want to have some fun, go watch Rebecca smash some trucks and school buses. Holy cow. And if you got kids in your family or even kids on the street you want to take into something they can't even believe and set their goals on fire, there you go. You can do it right there. I'll put a link to that on Rebecca's show notes page. This was fun, Rebecca. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you know that less than 3% of all automotive technicians in the United States are women? You may not be surprised, but you should be concerned because our country is facing a massive technician shortage right now. Skilled, qualified techs are in high demand, and we need young women and men to consider these careers as a viable path to a fulfilling life. I've interviewed hundreds of women in the automotive sector here on Cars Yeah, and I know that women make great techs. That's why I support the nonprofit Tech Force Foundation and its Women Techs Rock initiative to ensure women see themselves in the profession, the industry, and the workforce. Learn more at techforce.org today.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.